advocates whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
All right. Welcome into Friday. Is it Friday night? It is Friday night. Yeah, Friday night to The Den, The Devil's Den, Crimes After Dark. It's our show that we do every single night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's growing in popularity. We're getting a bigger and bigger base every night, so it's fantastic. We had a lot of people in the show before we even got started. That's a super encouraging thing. Momentum is building on the records campaign. Money campaign funds are flowing into the records campaign. So if you don't know what that's about, we'll talk about that, which is funny because, and I won't name names, but I have my panelists backstage waiting for me to finish my monologue. This is kind of like becoming a scripted thing. I got my monologue and then I bring on my guests and we got a format and all this stuff like that. But anyways, the point being is that I had somebody kind of bust my nuts, right? I've got 5 cases that I cover, and because a lot of activity has been happening in the Idaho 4 case, this person said, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Why are you talking about a case that hasn't been relevant for over a year? The guy pled guilty; it's over." And I'm like, "You're missing apparently a lot of stuff because a lot of stuff is happening more today than it did before the plea deal. Because again, what's happening, you have to understand what happens when the case closed and the plea deal happened. All of a sudden, they don't have a reason to keep redacting and hiding everything. So more and more stuff is becoming unsealed. Now that we're seeing stuff, all of a sudden things don't make sense, and it gets worse, right? Because now they can't hide behind the statement, it's an ongoing investigation, so we won't tell you shit. That's no longer a hide behind, right? It's not an ongoing investigation. It's over. Case is over. So now show your work. And that's becoming a problem because as they're showing their work and now some agencies, I won't name any names, some agencies are fighting to not have to show their work because they know that they're in trouble if they show their work. So it's now a very crazy time because now that it's over, it's just starting, if you follow what I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my guests. We'll get going about all the crazy things that I've had going on today. Just to let you know, I've been very, very busy, so I don't have show notes put together for today. I just took a trip to meet with one of, how do I word it? I don't want to say confidential informant, but I guess I have, it's not informants. It's not the right word. I have contacts. There you go. I have confidential contacts. I went out of town and met with my confidential contacts today. So I pushed it to get back. So here's the great thing about we're hitting that point in the show. We're hitting that point in the channel where I'm excited. This is where I felt it was going to happen eventually. When you get big enough and we're kind of at that point, people start sending me tips. I'm getting people now giving me tips. They're leaking stuff to me. They're telling me stuff. And it's starting to, we're about to, I feel like we're tipping a corner because now people are starting to see, oh, well, this channel has some legs on it. Maybe I should send what I've been sitting on for all this time to this guy and see what he says. And some of it will pan out and some won't. But anyway, let's get our panelists on board. Robin, how are you doing tonight? And see if your mic's working.
I am doing great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So Robin is a co-producer of my show. Good to see you, Robin, as always.
Likewise, likewise.
So for those who don't know really what happened with Robin, this was a one-man show. Well, when I first started, it was actually a two-man show. And then my business partner backed out very, very quickly. And it left me with a plural title, The Advocates, with only myself. And I ran that way for 6 months or so. And then Robin started getting more and more active on the show. And I realized that a lot of the duties, it was funny because Robin and I were like, what do we call somebody that does all the shit that you're doing for this channel? And we realized assistant producer was pretty much the best title. You're doing a lot of stuff. You reach out to people, you set things up, you do a lot of administrative tasks. Yeah, you and I work on the format. So it's like assistant producer, which is really weird because it was like giving up my baby. Like, this is my channel. I don't want anybody else in control of my channel, but Robin's great. Robin always defers to me. I'm in control of my own channel, but
that's right.
We got a great partnership and I appreciate all the work that you do. So thank you so much, Robin. And let's bring on another guest to the show tonight. Our NYPD, consultant. Yes, I keep calling you an advisor. You're not advising us on things. You're just sharing your things. How you doing tonight, One?
Great. This is good to be alive in the den on a Friday night. Live from New York. It's Friday night.
I'm telling you, man, I cannot believe I am still sitting on 4K footage of me standing at Times Square as the sun goes down in a time-lapse thing. It's going to look cool. I just haven't. In fact, I need to get that to Robin. Well, we've been talking about maybe having something on a sizzle reel. I might put that 4K footage of us in New York on our sizzle reel that we're trying to build. Anyways, I'll talk to you about offline. We're doing business live. We're doing it live. We got a lot of inside jokes, but good to see you, One. Appreciate it as always. Again, he does not represent NYPD, so all of his opinions and stuff like that are opinions of his own. Part of the reason why he's kind of got this incognito look is because literally he's kind of incognito. Like we don't want you to get the false impression that he's representing NYPD, but he does give the perspective of NYPD. I think the largest police department in the United States. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't get any bigger than that, and it's a pleasure to have you on.
Maybe even the world. Maybe even the world. I mean, it's like we have like 35,000 cops. So
I was gonna say in the world, but I was like, well, is it in the world or is it just in the U.S.? But you're right. I think it might be in the world. So It's a real pleasure to have you on the show, and it's a real benefit to our show to have that. I'm bringing people on in the order that they lined up backstage, so this is not one of these preferential kind of things. Jason Estes from Estes Crime Maze. Let me give you a little monologue introduction before you go, Jason. So Jason Estes is kind of our resident. It never really happened. It's a witness extraction operation. Nobody died, and you can apply that to any case at all, almost. But we're bringing Jason around. There's times that we say stuff, and Jason Estes will even say, "You know what, DA, you made a good point," and that's what we do here. Like just like Jason, you will make points, and I'll be like, "You know what, you made a good point. Like you didn't see any bodies come out of that house, so maybe nobody died. You have to consider that." So, anyways, tell us. I know you're having a rough day. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you.
Well, thank you. First of all, are we live?
We are live. You need to take that.
Oh, jeez, I'm nervous. Hold on. Thank goodness, a lady friend from Alberta.
Yeah,
wonderful person. She was kind enough to do this shirt. I hope some people like it. I certainly do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that is very
nice.
cool.
Very cool.
Before you get too far in your monologue, I will let people know I'm not going to ignore the chat. I'm going to get to you and say some hellos to people. I should have done that up front, but I didn't want to make my panelists wait forever. So let's get Jason's introduction done. Let's get Joe from State of the Deep up here, and then we'll go through some hellos, and then we'll get into the show tonight.
Well, thank you. Real
Yeah.
quick. Hello, DA. You're amazing. Hello, beautiful, vivacious Robin, the best co-producer out there. 35,000 cops with you in New York City. Unbelievable. You guys are fantastic as well. And to the amazing audience, how many people are in the audience right now, DA, before you address them? How many?
201.
Wonderful. To the 201 people in right now, I want to sincerely say, please grab your house coat or your favorite robe. Again, that hot cup of Java or your favorite beverage. There it goes. Robin's got her beverage. And sit by the fire, if you have one, and join us for a while. Listen to a story, because we are going to give you, once again, a deep dive, cacophony, cavalcade conversation for you true crime junkies on the Idaho 4 and much, much more. And yes, I do believe all 4 students are alive, just like that single guy, Charlie Kirk, or the rich guy, Charlie Kirk. He's alive too. And we'll get into it. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. Take it away.
All right, thank you so much. As I'm waiting for you to stumble one of these nights on that long string of I can't do it. I talk fast, but I can't do it. So one of these nights you're going to stumble, and I'm like, I got you. You can't.
Well, I did. There was one thing I forgot. Cacophony, cavalcade conversation.
Yes, cacophony, cavalcade.
I did forget.
We need a shirt that says that.
In my opinion, this is the most entertaining, thought-provocative, true crime channel out there. That's Devil's Advocates. And it starts with the creator, and then it goes to the amazing co-producer, Robin, and of course, the guest. And I'm not saying this because I'm on your show, DM, but I'm starting to sound like a wannabe narcissist. A friend once said, Jason, you're a wannabe narcissist. Anyway.
Wannabe narcissist. That's fantastic. Yeah, let's contemplate that. All right, let's bring up Joe from State of the Deep, and I'm going to unmute his mic. For those who don't know, Joe from State of the Deep and I met at CrimeCon 2025. It looks like he's frozen. He's either really still, or Joe's 100% frozen.
I thought Joe wasn't even coming on tonight. I'm in shock.
I think Joe is frozen.
I don't think Joe is coming on tonight because Joe is frozen. Either he's the.
Can you hear me, DA?
I can hear you. Yes, your image is not there, but you're. Tell us what's going on with your image.
I don't know, man. I see everybody fine. I hear everybody fine. I don't know why I'm freezing up like that. Hold on. Let me see if I can close out some stuff that might be.
So while you're doing that, like I said, Joe and I met at CrimeCon 2025 in Aurora, Colorado. We had a great couple of drinks before or after one of the days of the CrimeCon show and hit it off very, very quickly. Went and drove together to, of all places, we drove to the Century 16 theaters where the shooting in 2012 of allegedly James Holmes shot up a theater, killed 12, injured 50 something others for like a total of 70, I think, in that theater there. We got, I want to say Joe and I got kicked off of the property. we were politely invited to leave with the word of if you didn't buy tickets to the movies, then you need to leave. I thought that was really ridiculous. I mean, literally, we were just walking around the building, but we were not welcome to be in the parking lot if we didn't have movie theater tickets. And so a group of security people invited us to leave the parking lot, and we did so. So that was kind of cool. Joey, I don't think your video's frozen anymore. Move left or right and let me know that we're live.
Well, I'm getting a spinning wheel on my end.
Oh yeah, you're still frozen as shit.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know what's up. I've never had any major issues or anything.
What's great is you're frozen in a position that kind of looks like you're on a popsicle stick. It's like somebody stuck a stick up your butt and just stuck you on your, and you're kind of like Joe on a stick. That's what I think it looks like right now.
Let me see if I can close some stuff out. Yeah,
while Joe's closing the stuff out, I want to thank you, Joe, State of the Deep, for the background. Estes Crime Maze, really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
no
looks
problem.
great. Looks great. All right, let's go
let me
through
just
some hellos.
say hello, everybody.
Yeah.
DA, Robin, 11, SD, Den, hello. Hopefully I can fix whatever's wrong and you guys will be able to see me.
Perfect. Let's work on that. All right. Let me say some hellos to Essie backstage, or not backstage. Essie's and Robin's backstage. Essie and Mike, Essie and Robin together. But Essie's in the house. We got, and first in the house looks like Diana Draper, 940, Crime Spy in 2024. That's a regular in the house. So a lot of regulars. Is it Linda Vaughn, H7P? Welcome as well. I think I recognize that name. Claire Riley. Looks like Joe did something and then came back, but he's still frozen as shit. Got the wife in the background, the she-devil, Rhonda She-Devil. She's in the house, both figuratively and literally. DK M905, hi DA. I could pin some of these as well. Who else do we got? Lydia in Unhinged. Hello. Just wanted to say hi to people. Becca, 1019, welcome as well to the show. Amanda B. A lot of our graphics work comes from Amanda B. and my website redesign. A lot of those graphics, I mean, anything graphics-wise, Amanda B does, and she does so much more. She does a lot of moderation of the Discord channel and moderation of the YouTube channel and all kinds of stuff. So anybody with a wrench, of course, has moderation privileges, and she helps out with moderation. Did we do Lydia Unhinged? I think we might have, but just in case, we'll do that again. Caleb, Caleb, and what I saw somebody else. 55. Okay, let's see. Poetic Justice, recognize that. 1-1, of course, is in the house. Just looking for some new names to jump off here if there's anything new. And if this is, by the way, Extraterrestrial Highway, welcome, good evening. If this is one of your first times, even if it's not, by the way, let's give you an invite to come up to join us, because tonight we don't have a formal thing. Although I have news. I have news about the letter campaign and the Brian Koberger case, Idaho 4 case. So I do have stuff to tell you about that. Nothing groundbreaking, but still interesting. I want to educate you people on how the process works in case you want to get involved. Troubled Ocean looks like in the house as well. Siggy, let's see, who else? Just getting through some hellos. Miss Lisa. Diana Gallegos, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Cadence Christian as well. Jules Down Under. We've got a lot of Australian people that watch the show. Again, I found out that Australia actually likes true crime more than Americans, which is super fascinating to me. Beauty Before Ashes. Hello, DA, and everyone in chat. Hope everyone's having a great Friday. Absolutely. Austin. So many names. Joanne. Yeah. So I don't want to. We're almost at the bottom, anyways. So I think we're pretty clear. R.S. Layton as well. Yeah, super cool to see you all. Love it when you tell me, by the way, Kelly as well, Barner. I love it when you guys tell me where you're coming in from. Sometimes we got an international audience, so getting people from the Netherlands. Karen, love your show, it says. And analysis is terrific. Idaho 4 is relevant. Yes, thank you so much. I agree. I think, by the way, guys, Joe, I picked up a copy. So today I was going to. I hope you're still there. Your image.
I can hear you. I'm trying to get my camera to unfreeze.
So I picked up a copy. Digitally on my Audible book of Framed by Grisham. John Grisham. Is it John Grisham? Yeah. Anyways, Framed, yeah. Right? And he's co-authored that book with I can't remember who it was. McClatchy. Anyways, point being is that book Framed. MFG. I wish if I could do one thing, it would be to ask every person who comes in and says to me, I don't know why you're talking about this case, DA. Brian Koberger literally pled guilty, and you don't plead guilty to something you didn't do. Read fucking chapter 1 of Framed. Chapter 1 tells a story, and I'm going to summarize it for you. I'm going to steal its thunder a little bit. I'm going to summarize it for you. A known rapist who killed multiple women, raped multiple women, and killed multiple women. A known rapist killed the wife of a Navy, it wasn't an officer, but a naval guy when he was out of the house. Killed his wife, went into the house, raped her and killed her in her house, stabbed her with a steak knife. They didn't know who did it. And so they were asking people outside of the crime scene if they had any ideas. And a person who was actually friends of the actual killer, who, by the way, the killer left his semen at the crime scene. He left his DNA at the crime scene. He left fingerprints at the crime scene. He left DNA for days at the crime scene. But a person in the audience who was friends with that killer said, I think it might be that guy over there, which was a Navy guy as well. He's been obsessed with that guy's wife for a long time. They threw the book at him. They stuck him in about 12 hours of interrogation. They broke him down. And he finally said, maybe I was sleepwalking. I mean, you keep telling me I did this murder. Maybe I sleepwalk. And he actually, they broke him down. He had nothing to do with the crime. They broke him down and he pled guilty. But here's the problem. DNA came back and it didn't match him. So you fucking will not believe this. You know what they did? They said, well, he's still the right guy, but he did it with somebody. So they went after another Navy guy. And then when they arrested and put that Navy guy in jail for the same crime. But here's the problem. DNA came back and it wasn't that guy either. So they said, you know what? 3 guys must have done it. They did that to 7 motherfuckers. They did that to 7. They put 7 people in jail for the same crime because every single time it turned out that the guy they just arrested and put in jail wasn't it. They said, well, he did it with other people then. So they went after another guy. And it would be comical if it wasn't for the fact that people's lives were ruined. Some of them spent 12 years in jail for something they didn't do. When they finally got around to the actual guy whose DNA was at the scene the entire time and was a known rapist and had killed multiple people, and they finally went, oh, I guess it was that guy. But literally law enforcement got it in their head. And they had a very, very, by the way, here's the great part of that story. I'm only stealing chapter 1. The great part of that story, that detective, that lead detective who strong-armed people in, he strong-armed at least 4 confessions and then got people to turn on other people to get other people arrested in jail. All of those 4 confessions were false confessions. They did not do it, but they were strong-armed by a guy that threatened that they were going to go to jail for the rest of their life. He was going to take them down no matter. They had no chance to get away with it, and he was really good at what he did. That MFer went to jail. That cop went to jail. So he spent 12 years in jail himself for railroading people through the system. I don't think 12 years was enough for the lives that person ruined. But point being, that's chapter 1. So all you people who say people don't plead guilty to something they didn't do, 4 people in that case pled guilty to something they didn't do. And it happened. And the guy that was co-authoring the book with Grisham is part of, I think it's called Centurion Ministries or something like that. They've exonerated 70 people who falsely confessed to things they didn't do. 70. That's how many that group has done. And that's not counting the Innocence Project. So please, for God's sake, people, get out of your head this stupid idea that you don't realize our system is broken. We have overhanded sometimes systems that force confessions into people. We get narrow-sighted. Once an arrest is made, a lot of times we focus on whoever's been arrested and we just ignore exculpatory evidence, literally purposely hide exculpatory evidence, and then shape all the information and then tell the accused over and over again, look, man, quit wasting our time. Just admit you did it. It would make you feel a lot better. Don't you want to give peace to the family? Don't you want to do the right thing here and stand up and be a fucking man and admit what you did? And people who didn't do it eventually break down and be like, man, would you want this to happen to your daughter? Why don't you give some closure to the families? And believe it or not, that works with even intelligent people. Read the book. Read a book. Read a book. Read an MFer book. Like read a book. Read Framed by John Grisham. I can't say it enough. That book right there is chapter 1.
Excuse me, where was that crime, DA?
Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, it was called. In fact, look up the Norfolk 4 because 4 guys gave false confessions in that case, and 7 went to jail for a crime that none of them were involved in.
And the original guy, DA, that Dan Williams, your first guy that they arrested, he was exonerated by DNA, and they kept him in jail for months before they even addressed that. And
you
then
wanna-
they tried shifting the narrative that he was involved with other people, and that's why his DNA wasn't found.
And here's the sick part again. I'm only ruining one chapter, so I'm not trying to ruin it because I think it's worth your listen or your read or whatever, regardless. Here's what in the sickest parts. That main guy that they first went after, the one that they went balls deep on and put him away or whatever, and then when they realized it wasn't him, they went after his next guy and the next guy and the next guy. That first guy's wife was dying of ovarian cancer, I think, and literally died while he was in prison for rape and murder. So she died believing her husband may have raped and murdered somebody and didn't get to see the day to find out that her husband had nothing to do with it. Nothing. And she died going to her grave believing her husband may have raped and killed the girl next door. Sick things.
You're full of piss and vinegar tonight again, DA, on a Friday night.
I am full of piss and vinegar.
We're loving it, man.
It irritates me so much. And when every single time someone says to me, Brian Koberger pled guilty, you idiot, I just want to say, read some books. Go watch a few documentaries on false confessions. It's not hard to find. Educate yourself a little bit on how this happens. It is a systemic problem. It's a systemic problem. So it's the way our system is set up. You need to educate yourself. Now, at the end of the day, huh?
They don't want to. They want to listen to Nancy Grace and Brian Enton and Banfield.
Right.
You know.
Right.
We won't hear a false confession, by the way, of Brian Koberger apparently in an actual interrogation. Wouldn't that be something? And again, the question is, why didn't we see an interrogation?
And this. And this is what bugs me. I'm going to go on a little small tirade. I'll try to let you guys have some breathing room, I guess, for, you're here for a reason, not to sit there and listen to me rant the whole time. But a perfect example, Brian Koberger's original intake and interrogation in Pennsylvania when he was arrested, talked to two officers, and they sat around and talked about sports, football, whatever. And the narrative was, what a cold, calculated murderer that he could act like nothing happened and just talk about sports. And I was like, how about maybe he fucking talks about sports because he didn't kill somebody? Why is it that you're using the fact that he's not acting like a criminal who just killed people as proof that he killed people? The sickness in our heads sometimes that somehow him acting like a normal person who didn't kill people is proof of how cold and calculated he is, because he acted like he didn't do anything. Maybe because he maybe didn't do something.
Wait, remember, he did get a coffee at Costco. I mean, come on.
Right?
How can we forget about that?
Right.
That isn't guilty. I don't know what is.
Well, I mean, did you see those horrific pictures of Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk thing going and pumping gas? And they were talking about he had the audacity to pump gas. Here's Tyler Robinson pumping gas. Can you believe it? He just killed somebody and now he's pumping gas. Holy shit. Like, how do we turn everyday mundane things into proof of guilt by saying that you're colder because you're going through life like a normal person, and that somehow means you're really cold? Because look, they're acting like a normal person, like somebody who didn't just kill Charlie Kirk or somebody who did. Like, am I making myself clear? It's asinine.
I was wondering from one's point of view as a cop, have you thought, and for a long time and somewhat been frustrated, wondering why we didn't see an official interrogation of BK Brian Koberger?
Well, we haven't seen a lot of things. I mean, they're just look. I mean, look at this audio that was just released. I shouldn't say released. Jules did a lot of fighting and spent $1,000 around to get this 230 to 330 audio. I mean, if she didn't push to get that, I mean, when would we have seen that audio video? I mean, could have been another year from now.
When she files for it, guys, for the audio, does she?
Yeah.
I'm sure Robin can fill us in on this too. Does she specify that she's trying to get audio?
Yeah, she specified.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding, she was fighting with them through email, calling people on the phone. I mean, all this stuff.
Yeah.
All this stuff, there's no reason to hide this stuff. The case is over, right? Brian pleaded guilty. There is no trial. Hitler himself he issued his own decree saying that stuff should be, witnesses and certain things. If Lana from True Crimes was cover this. You look at the they have one of the sheets. It's an index, just an index file of all the witnesses, like the interviews and pieces of evidence. They're redacting like pieces of evidence. How is a piece of evidence or the name of an interview or something that they did? How does that violate someone's personal data? That's not. It's we can't. They're hiding stuff, so we don't even know like the name to ask for some of this stuff, which is asinine.
Right.
Hey,
and
one just got called a wanker by somebody in the
no,
chat.
no, they weren't calling one a wanker.
Come on.
Well,
Such a great word, the wanker. You wanker?
Yeah,
Go on, have a toss, you wanker.
Claire must be a Brit.
right. That's what I
Can
gather.
I
love
something,
it.
DA, to kind of something you said yesterday or the night before, about confirmation bias on one hand with police officers and things. But another thing that's somewhat related to that is people in general, if they have a narrative given to them and it more or less gives them something to grab onto, they typically most people don't dig past that. A narrative is good enough for your average person. They don't really need to find the truth. It's a certain type of person that digs and looks past the obvious and tries to find the truth. And unfortunately, that's why the mainstream media is able to push these narratives in lockstep, and everybody just says, oh, well, look, all these different media outlets are saying this, so they just accept that as the truth, not understanding the way the mainstream media actually works.
And
it's funny because
junkies, remember, folks, though, right? Like us.
And it's funny because it's confirmation bias, because I told you before, when I was going to the post office, and I'm going to the post office almost every single day sending out new letters, although I might be slowing down on the certified letter part. That doesn't mean that we are not going to be able to make use of the donations that are coming in, but I found a way to kind of reduce some of the certified letter money. But we still need money, because they're going to come back and they're going to ask for money for the photocopying rights and for the audio files and the body worn cameras and stuff like that we're requesting and stuff like that. And we won't go, we're not going to pay for stuff that everybody's already seen and stuff like that. So we'll be judicious with the money. But the confirmation bias is crazy, because again, when I'm going to the post office, even the post office lady says, well, they always get their guy. They always catch him in the end. And I want to say, what you mean is, they almost always get the guy that decided to do it. You're right. They almost always get the guy that they decided did it. That doesn't mean they always get the guy. But you're right. When they've decided somebody's done the crime, they almost get them somehow. So but you're missing the point. Maybe we have a broken system, because too many times you find out they got the wrong person and they put somebody away in jail anyways, because once they've decided who their guy is, they almost always do a conviction. They almost always get a plea deal or something. So you're right. They almost always get their guy. And that should scare you, because God help you. Because look, if you, again, Joe, I mean, I don't know if you read that whole chapter, but it sounds like you did, that one of the Virginia or the Norfolk 4, literally the woman just said, I think that guy over there was obsessed with that guy's wife. And that's all it took. That's all it took to put that guy away in jail with no evidence whatsoever. God forbid you ever have a neighbor who says, I think that guy next door is kind of a little creepy, because maybe they didn't like the fact that your dog pissed on their yard. So all they do is say that you look a little creepy, and bam, you're going to jail, because they will just, that must be it. If that guy looks creepy, let's go. It's sad.
You might have to help me then, because I might be that creepy guy that never goes to sleep. So
right, yeah, exactly. See, I'm telling you, if there's a murder at 3 a.m, you're like, what was 1-1 doing? I don't know, but I know he was awake. And who stays up every single night at 3 a.m? That guy's always up. I suspect he's doing something weird. So yeah, go ahead, Robin.
Oh no, I was just saying, one and I are both vampires.
Yeah, I'm probably talking to Robin.
God forbid
you. Did you hear that? Did you?
Yeah, God forbid you're the kind of person like me who likes to go for drives in the middle of the night. Because if you go for a drive at 2 or 3 a.m, you're probably a quadruple homicide suspect. because who else goes for drives at 2 a.m. Or 3?
We got Normie Jeff H in the chat. So I wanted to give a little shout out to Jeff H.
Oh, you missed it. You missed it, JJ. He came on. He came on the show on Sunday.
Oh
Yeah, with me and one. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
this.
It was good.
I always recommend that people, go a little further, read some books and things. And any book regarding forensic psychology, they discuss why people falsely confess. And oftentimes they play this game with the read technique, and they hammer the person and they confuse them and they make them think maybe it's basically a psychological operation that they pull on.
It
them.
is. Yeah.
And this is very prevalent. And in this book Frame, they discuss that right away from the beginning of how they go about doing it. And so some people like Jeff H need to grab onto a narrative because it makes them feel good inside, and it squashes their cognitive dissonance about the world, because the world's a scary place with evil doings. And sometimes people need to have that comforting, cozy narrative to help them get through life. But I would recommend, if people want to break out of that comfort zone, to actually read about human psychology and how it works, and read about corruption and understand about, how powerful entities and bureaucracies and systems affect things on a bigger scale. So that's my advice to Jeff H.
Yeah. And I don't know if you saw, I posted for a moment. Somebody said, I think it was Jules that was saying that she found out that when you FOIA information on the 1122 King murders, that the families are notified of your request, to your FOIA request. So that's interesting if that's the case. I don't know if that applies to just FOIAs or if it also applies to public records requests. You have to understand they're slightly different. A FOIA literally is a federal request. So it's not the same agencies as Moscow Police Department, for example. You don't FOIA, and people will say, I FOIA'd Moscow. You don't FOIA Moscow. That's not a federal thing. But the FBI, that's a federal agency. You might FOIA that. You might FOIA, criminal records or military records, something like that, with government agencies. But public records requests. But I wonder if it is true that the families get notified. And then how do you feel about that? I mean, you can't stop the search for truth and justice just because other people are getting notified. And of course, notified just means notified, like, hey, somebody asked for this file. So it's not a I don't think a huge deal. I bet you at some point they tune it out and they're like, I don't need to hear everybody and their dog who doesn't think this happened the way it did. We're just going to move on. That's what some of the families said. We're just going to move on. We don't want to hear it anymore. We're just going to move on, and that's for the rest of the people to decide if they're going to let it go or not. And so it is what it is. But I wanted to tell you a few things about the letter campaign. I am getting responses back from Pullman now. And so this is where I learned a little bit about, I'm getting smarter with how we can save our money. So first of all, let me say this. I like to educate people. So so again, for those who don't know, I took a step of taking the latest video that was released by Moscow Police Department between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning, and showing that there were screams going on, the neighborhood got super quiet, and that any reasonable jury, if they had heard that, in my opinion, would have reasons to question the official timeline, especially considering we know that even the grand jury didn't buy the testimony of the survivors. There was conflicting statements. You don't hear anything like that at all during the critical time they say Brian Koberger was doing the murders, and now we know they were fighting back. They told us originally everybody was killed in their sleep. Now we know that's not true. They were fighting back. There were screams, and yet you hear none of that between 4:05 and 4:20 in the morning, but you hear tons of that between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning. So when that came out, I simply put out a letter, a formal request to open a criminal investigation into this case. That request is just that. It's a request. A lawsuit has not been filed. So those who think that a lawsuit has been filed, that's not what happened. A request to the Idaho State Attorney General, Raul Labrado, it's like Labrador, Labrado. I can't remember how. Now all of a sudden I'm spacing on his name. No disrespect.
It is Labrador
or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, we sent a letter to him saying, this is the reason why we believe a criminal investigation should be conducted into this case. This newly released audio, if a jury had heard that, would have reasonable doubt all day long every day and twice on Sunday. On top of that, I want to know, did the defense hear this audio? Has it been ruled out and excluded? I would like to request that a formal investigation go, that I believe, like so many cases in America, that maybe some steps were missed, some exculpatory evidence was hidden, and a plea deal came in without the defendant knowing that evidence was out there with exculpatory information that would have made all the difference in the world had a jury. And here's the thing. They knew if they got the plea deal before that, we would never have a trial and that stuff would never come out. But now that it's over and we're doing requests for public information, it did come out and we had to pay healthy. Jules and her team, and again, Jules did correct. It wasn't out of her personal pocket. Her community came together and donated money to do that. Just like I'm asking you to help with the campaign that we're waging right now. I'm asking you to help with that funding because that's how we break things loose. Because I can't afford to pay. You know what they told me the first time? I think I've said it before. They told me they wanted in excess of $20,000, and that was, and they needed $10,000 up front to start my request. $10,000 up front, and the ending bill will be in excess of $20,000. But we need at least $10,000 up front before we'll even start your documents. Pay up in 7 days the $10,000, or we'll consider your request dropped. That's what they did to me when I first started this thing, and I let it go. I didn't pay the $10,000. I thought, well, I guess that's it. They're just going to stonewall us behind money. I found out later on it's a legal gray area, but it's mostly considered not legal what they just did. It's not legal. You just have to push back and you have to know the right thing, and they know that most people will give up and never do that. Yeah, what's up, Estes? What do you got?
Thank you. I was just waiting for finish your amazing thoughts there. I noticed that some of the lawyers you had on one of your videos, if I just may, I can't quote her verbatim, but her name was Samantha McBride, I think.
Yeah.
Nice woman. Obviously, they were all very intelligent, it seemed. And I think she said she was starting with, like, at one point she said, after you were going on about the horrific screams, of course, that it sounds like that we're hearing. She said, remember, she said, she had a problem, she said, because there was, as we know, there was no, I wrote it down, I shouldn't be reading. No one heard anything.
Right.
And then you got this house at 1122 King Road with all the audio, right? And then coincidentally, of course, this is an earlier time frame than the actual crime took place. Obviously, that's a lot of problems with us and a lot of people, if these are real screams from victims. And then, of course, people, as you said earlier, were sleeping. And then no interrogation, she brought up. And then finally, of course, the 911 call, she said delayed 8+ hours. This is from a lawyer who then said, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, this is how crazy and wild this case is. And your other lawyer, the male lawyer, he said, I think you couldn't put this out in a Paramount movie. No director would ever carry this. The public would say, this is impossible. This is nuts.
Right.
Like, you know, but this
and that was Ron, who from the Custody Queens team. I mean, they all work in the same office or law firm together in family law, but he's an appellate guy. And he was saying that that's exculpatory information, no matter how you slice it. Like there's just no way around it. That's exculpatory information. The only way really it can't be exculpatory information in it's me playing devil's advocates with myself, which is that if it was fully investigated, and it was known by Ann Taylor, his defense as well, and she got to see all of the notes about the investigation, and it was comfortable that the investigation was accurate and true, and there's an explanation that everyone agrees with, then that would be the only thing that would make sense. Is that, okay, Ann Taylor must have seen it. There's no part. For God's sake, please tell me Ann Taylor saw it, because if she didn't, that's exculpatory information, and that fucks this whole trial. But if she saw it and she said, okay, I believe that's, you guys are factual and honest, and this is what it was, and it wasn't what we think it was, then what are you going to do? She signed off on it. But if she didn't see it, they're in big trouble.
They didn't even interview the Banfield boys. There's no interview.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that they did, that they did the homicide, but that Banfield stop is like right there, right with the sounds. So to say,
I mean,
I'm sure I would willing to bet. I would bet money that those kids that were stopped right there, they got summonses for drinking or whatever. They know something that went on. Obviously, you got the guys running in the background. These guys that were stopped, they were they were right there. I mean, you guys, you had boots on the ground. I mean, it's not that far away.
Yeah. What is
No.
what is the not likelihood? Is there not a possibility that those guys were some of the hooping and hollering you heard that sounds like fake cheering, trying to cover up the sounds of what, again, we heard what sounded like a section of kind of fake cheering out of nowhere, and then stop, and they stop cheering. And it sounds like, what if those guys running away from the home after it was all, whatever was happening was done, were running, away from the thing, and then they get stopped. And what if those were the voices? There had to have been follow-up on that, right? There has to be, right? There, you just had all these things happen. You're not going to ask them, where were you? What were you doing? Like, I don't know. There's just
the thing that's crazy about the people running is after that video came out, the body cam, which shows the people running in the background,
Right.
like 2 days later, they were like, oh, there's some things going around about these people that were seen in the body cam footage running, and we determined that they're not related and they're not suspects. How quickly do you carry out interviews and find out who those people were and clear them? And it goes back to what we've been saying a lot, which is it's like they already knew what was going on,
Right.
because they didn't seem very interested in thoroughly investigating other people. Now, again, we could look at it in many different ways. Everybody's got their own theory about what happened, but I mean, I'm starting to think that it's not out of the question that a few people were killed and possibly a few were extracted. I'm starting to, the way everything plays out, I'm starting to get a feeling that Xana and Ethan were killed and Kaylee and Maddie were pulled out of there. Like something, either the whole situation was intervened upon by potentially law enforcement or the feds if they were watching that house, and shit got squirrely and they ended up pulling two of the people out after there was crimes already committed, because that would explain some of the weird stuff about, what Christy Gonzalez said in that interview about Maddie. And it would make it plausible that maybe there was actually a body in that cop's photo on his phone, that little thumbnail of the picture, which looked like a guy, and a pretty big guy. And, I'm just saying that there's everything that has happened to this point, and every bit of information that's come out completely refutes the official narrative.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
the people that are still holding on to the official narrative are just, there's certain types of people that they won't change their mind because it's easier for them to just hang on to what is comfortable for them to believe.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that I can't give a definitive answer to what I believe happened, but an extraction operation of some sort holds a lot of water, because there's a lot of things that occurred that would imply that.
That's right, Joe. And with our theory, I say ours because you're along with that real possibility of an extraction, that even if you say Ethan and Xana, as people are trying to say sometimes, could have been killed, let's say that they were, it still doesn't explain. I think one would agree, from being a cop, that we didn't see any raw crime scene photos, as you guys know, no leaked autopsy photos, no body bags, no gurneys, and that tells me that I think the good news is all four more likely are alive. It's hard to prove that. And again, the way the U.S. Marshals moved the boxes out, a few days later, they put the mattress in a hillbilly-like truck, half of it sticking out, with just a mattress cover on part of it and blood on the mattress. They want us to see the blood on the mattress to make us think that there's, I believe, some people died in the house. But again,
but the reason why I say that, though, the reason why I say that I think it's possible that people were killed is because that earlier video, there's a lot of sounds of struggle and terror and potentially violence. So it's not impossible that people were killed. In other words, I'm saying that I go based on logical breakdown of information. And that's why I can hold both ideas that yes, there could have been an extraction because there's logical information that supports that. But at the same time, there's also logical information that supports that people were killed. Now, again, this is a complicated situation, and I can't say I have a definitive impression about it, but that's just kind of a way I've been thinking about it the last few days.
Sure. But again, no blood, no, again, the raw crime scene photos, I think would have came out, either by mainstream media, as you guys know, or, the college kids were around. And then the 911 call, again, we've been trying to figure it out. Why would that be delayed 8+ hours? There's different theories on it, which is interesting. And I'm still trying to about that.
And by the way, I want to say a couple things. I want to say something about the repeated comments we get about, they had to have been alive at 4:12 because Xana was on TikTok at 4:12. So they had to have been alive at 4:12. People need to understand text messaging is not proof of life. Activity on your phone is not proof of life. I don't remember who it was, but somebody brought up that great case. Maybe it was you, one. I can't remember.
I did. I brought it up.
About laundry. When if he really did kill Gabby Petito, he was using her phone to text with the family to make it appear that she was still alive. And
he texted her mother.
Right. And so these people who are telling me Xana had to be alive because she texted, what are you telling me that then Gabby didn't really die and that her boyfriend wasn't pretending like she was still alive with texting? It's proof right there. Proof. Gabby's texting her family, so she can't be dead. The story that he did it can't be true because she's texting the family. Like, think it through. A text does not mean activity on your phone does not mean proof of life. It doesn't tell you who's doing it. In fact, the crazy thing about that, and I don't want to go super big on it, like the crazy thing about it is the thing that Xana allegedly texted or posted on TikTok felt more like somebody trying to leak information on the crime scene, that maybe somebody picked up her phone and was trying to leak something out there. I'll just leave it at that. That text message, now that I look at it, what was said, and now what I know about the screams and now what I know about everything, I'm like, did somebody in the cleanup crew try to get a message out through the TikTok message? Or was somebody just trying to, again, there's a lot of scenarios. Was somebody just simply trying to set a timeline? If I text from one of their phones at 4 a.m, everybody must believe it happened after 4 a.m. and won't be looking at the right time frame. So I'm just going to throw everybody off by sending a quick message on somebody's phone that might be already gone. So those kind of things are possible too. And if you don't think criminals can be smart enough like that, then you're missing something, I think.
Or if you don't think the feds are smart enough to do some of this possible.
Right.
Some of them might be smart enough.
We got some other. I saw a comment early. I saw you posted it, Lee. Someone made some comment about, oh, the FBI checked all this stuff, and he pleaded guilty, and they did everything. Well, let me tell you, where we did send a letter, and we're trying to get the 253 WSU footage of the white Elantra. We're very, very close. I'd say 99%. We're there. We just need that video just to make a verification for ourselves that the suspect one vehicle that they said was BK's car was not his car.
Right.
He was
we do have that.
So I don't want to say 100% because we didn't get I saw some video today that basically makes me think that Ann Taylor did see that WSU 253 footage. We haven't seen it. It has not been released. That is a bombshell, because that would probably also correlate and go along with Cy Ray. And that means that all the different spots, Floyd's cannabis shop and all these different areas where they said it's BK's car, it's not even his car. That would change the whole timeline drastically. I mean, and now that's a separate issue about, the people were, we still have victims that were killed and who did it and all, you have a lot of different things. But if we can have that proof that, same thing, like you brought up, and when you did your premiere in the video, you hear these sounds 2:30 to 3:30. We know positively that BK is not there because we know where he is, right?
Right, and that's what I want to make sure that we understand. I mean, we say it on a lot of shows. I'm going to say it again tonight because there may be somebody new. But you're right. This is what people have said. Well, you can't do anything. The appeals window has closed. Kohberger pled guilty, and the appeals window is closed. It is over, and nothing can be done. And the one thing I kept saying is there's multiple, but one of the nothing can be done is this. In our country, you cannot plead guilty, or I should say it this way. Your plea deal is not valid if you could not have done the things you pled guilty to. If it turns out that the murders happened at 2 a.m. and the prosecution says we know Brian Kohberger was in Pullman at 2 a.m., for example, then the plea deal is off, no matter the fact that he waived all his appeals. If you could not have done the crime, if anything, I said it from the beginning, if it ever comes out that Brian Kohberger could not have been at the house when the people were murdered, then the plea deal's off, because you cannot confess in this country to something you could not have done. People who have confessed and signed plea deals have walked from DNA evidence that exonerated them, DNA evidence that proved they were never at the scene, and then they get exonerated and they walk out of jail after saying, yeah, I did it. And you would think, how do you let somebody out that said they did it? Well, because the DNA evidence proved it's impossible for them to have done it. Same kind of thing. If anything comes out to prove that those murders happened when Brian Kohberger was in Pullman instead of Moscow, then he walks, because at least on part. Now, granted, there are things like accessory to murder after the fact. So if you start to run in scenarios that Brian Kohberger may have been called over as part of the cleanup crew, and that's why they know he was there, and that's why they pinned it on it, that gets a little nuanced. But as the appellate attorney, I hope I understood Ron right. When we had the custody queens on, and Ron with the appellate guy was talking about that very scenario. Well, what do you do if it's still accessory to murder? And one of the things he pointed out, and I'm going to try to, I didn't question him, I'm going to try to explain what he was saying. I don't think accessory to murder may be eligible for the death penalty for execution. And why does that matter?
Yeah.
Right. And why does that matter? Because maybe Kohberger, maybe in some scenario, Kohberger was an accessory after the fact, and therefore he's facing life in prison anyways. But would he have pled guilty if death, executing him, was not an option? And it wouldn't have been an option if they were going after him for, this is a scenario. I'm not saying, I'm not a lawyer, but if the scenario is that he was only accessory after the fact as part of a cleanup crew, then maybe he wouldn't have taken a plea deal because death wouldn't have been on the line. You follow what I'm saying? So either way it goes, it has to reopen that case. Maybe they have to retry it again if they really believe, after you find out that he couldn't have done the crimes they just told everybody in America he did. And again, all that's hypothetical. We don't know. All we know is that what we heard recently released, and we had to pay a pretty penny, almost $1,000. What we know is that that's exculpatory information. Any jury that heard that, I could have made a persuasive argument to a jury and said, "Are you sure the murders didn't happen at 2:30 in the morning? Because listen to this. Now listen to when they say it happened. You tell me which sounds more likely to be the murder time frame."
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
I got to say something too, but
okay.
Kimberly 007 in the chat said that she's a state investigator. Her father's a federal judge, and he's sitting right here, and that's not possible. They're all dead. And what I would say to that is an example of the expert class telling everybody they're crazy for having any other ideas or opinions than the official narrative. So everybody's entitled to their opinion, but because someone's a state investigator or a judge, that doesn't negate the fact that federal operations are real. They happen. Corruption is real. It happens. So to try to, I don't know if they're implying that it's not possible if there's any corruption or anything else going on here, because that's obviously, I don't know how many
said
people.
That they're not possible, that they're not dead. Isn't that what the comment
it's
was?
not possible that they're all dead, the way I read it. Yeah.
No. She said they're all dead.
Oh, they're all dead.
It's not possible. They're all dead.
I see. I read it.
Said.
It's funny grammar. Like you can read that two different ways, but yeah.
So,
right. But stating that I'm a state investigator and my father's a federal judge, and so therefore they're 100% correct. In this day and age, people know about corruption. People know about the feds being involved with shady things. I'm sorry, but
let me interview the federal judge, and let me have the first crack. Then DA can interview, hopefully, the federal judge, and let's get to the bottom of it.
So
Right, one. You've been holding your
yeah.
comment.
Well, I did. Yeah, there's a lot of the chat's going a little crazy. So, Jeff H, you said, oh well, Brian, he was in Pullman. You know, he was still there around 3. Well, here this is the issue. So the state used the cast phone data, right? That's what they're using to pinpoint where Brian was. Okay, not timing advance records. Well, or if Ashley Jennings had timely advance records, she's claiming that she didn't. Maybe they, you know, maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I don't know. But timing advance records at the time, they were saying that they didn't really exist yet. Now we have the technology, but whether they did or didn't, they weren't using that. They were using the cast data. Cast data is known to be somewhat unreliable, right? So if you have timing advance records can pinpoint like pretty much your exact location. That's not what they had. They just had cast data. So if I can see video or I see pictures of a white Elantra with fog lights that is a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra at certain locations, and that's what they're saying is suspect vehicle 1, and that's clearly not BK's car. He is a 2015 Hyundai Elantra, and he does not have fog lights. It's clearly not his car. Unless you want to say that he was in a different car. If we can actually prove from video or a picture that is impossibility that it's his car, and we know the certain direction or the certain where the car was, then we can definitively say, well, it's not possible that it's him. Right? So
yeah, right. Yeah, I wanted to clarify this question. So it looks like somebody's asking, did I say when Moscow originally sent me the response to my request for records, and they said, okay, it's going to cost us in excess of $20,000. We need $10,000 up front. Yes, they gave me a time frame. I think they said 7 days. I had to pay $10,000 in 7 days, or they would consider the request dropped. Therefore, yeah, I would have to start that process all over again. So if that's what you're asking, that is what I said.
I saw someone else was asking about Dylan too. That is a golden question. We don't know the answer. Who did Dylan add as a contact on her phone? Absolutely. I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Why won't they tell us that? That's
I don't know.
just one of those other little pieces of information that it might seem little, but it could actually turn out to be very important.
It's not little at all, because she said she was sleeping.
And listen, this may have to go. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I do understand. I did sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I may not be a lawyer, but I did sleep at a Holiday Inn, so I got some intelligence. The point being is that this very well may become a federal issue pretty soon. Again, one thing that I know about the federal government is the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. So this may have to get to the point where the Department of Justice has to come in and see if a federal agency ramrodded this case down everybody's throat, and whether there's a civil liberties violation of due process, that Brian Kohberger's rights to due process were violated, which I think is, I could make that argument right now that his due process was violated. So we start, and we are starting with the Idaho State Attorney General, and we'll see if we can get some traction there. If he rejects us, then we'll consider a federal appeal to say that the whole, potentially the whole state of Idaho is corrupt, maybe, and that maybe a federal investigator needs to look into whether or not this is a civil liberties issue, which clearly it would be in this case, in my opinion. And again, we're not accusing anybody of wrongdoing. What we're asking is, we're saying, look, the public has a right, after all the fighting and all the bickering for years, the public has a right to know that you got the right guy. And the answer isn't, well, it's the right guy because he pled guilty. We have a corrupt system. We have a broken system. It's documented. There's books after books after books about people being forced into false confessions. So we know it's a thing. So rather than say the answer is, if they confess, that means they did it, we know that's not true. You can't lean on that. We know that's not true.
I've done a total flip. Are you forgetting local law enforcement and the feds, Nancy Grace, Ashley Bashfield, Brian Ennin, Drunk Turkey Show, all these people have told us Brian Kohberger left touch DNA on a knife sheath, for heaven's sake, beside or under Maddie's leg. He is responsible. All my theories on extraction are over. I believe Brian Koberger did this crime, but I will let you guys, of course, talk about your own theories. I've solved the case, and that's that. No, I'm being serious.
I almost lost my shit, and I can't. Like, I got too many comments coming in now that we've got too many comments coming in. But I almost lost my shit because someone said, "Da, you're an idiot. If Brian Koberger didn't do it, then why is this fingerprint literally on the knife sheath at the plane?" And I'm like, you're not even watching the show. Like, you're not even watching the news. His fingerprint was never found at the scene. Are you kidding me? Like, how did it go from a single source piece of DNA so small you can't see it with the human eye to, you idiot, his fingerprint was at the scene? It fucking was not left at the scene. Get straight about the facts before you tell people I'm an idiot and you don't even know the basics of the story. And I don't mean to do that because I don't want to attack people, but for frick's sake, if you're going to call me an idiot, at least be right about the fact that you're stating.
I'll tell you, JJ had the right idea the other night when he said it would be great because I know she's all about this kind of stuff. If we would somehow be able to get Candace Owens to be interested in this, but she's a little busy.
Interview or debate. That'd be epic.
Yeah, she's got her hands full with whatever she's got going on right now, and all the hullabaloo with the.
And I want to say this. I want to say this carefully because I want to fully educate people on what's going on with the letter writing campaign. I do have a website, devilsadvocates.info. I'm gonna pull it up actually for a second here. Let me pull.
I haven't gone to your website yet, DA. I was about to, but now you're pulling it up. I don't have to do that tonight or
Right. I mean, you could go and you could give me a view. I mean, that's cool. So first of all, let me do this. Add this to stage, share screen.
I'll go to your website.
Make sure you don't show anything unsavory to the whole audience. All right. So first of all, this is our GoFundMe page. We've raised $1,600 so far. We got a big donation coming in from the custody queen still. Their manager is making that payment. They pledged on to the last live that we did together. They were going to do a very significant donation. We just had a recent big donation of $200 from James Owens. Shout out to him as well. We've got several $100 donations. So people are contributing to the thing. But in addition, here's the website, devilsadvocates.info. And on this page, I could sign out as being signed in as myself. But the point being is that here is our documents page. I'm listing all the letters that I'm sending out, all the costs that it's costing for certified mail. It's page after page of stuff. And the recent ones I did, and I want to tell you what I did because I want to be transparent with everybody about where their money is going. But I want to be really, really careful when I say this. So do you understand the principle that of fishing for information? When you're fishing for information, sometimes you know that what you're asking for isn't necessarily the important part. It's what it's going to uncover when you ask for that. Hopefully you understand that concept. Sometimes when you ask for something, it's not really what you asked for that's the important part. It's what you're going to get when you get that, the discovery that comes out involved in that. So where I'm going with that is not accusing anybody of wrongdoing, but I have opened up requests for all of the criminal work that Moscow Police Department did on 2 previous criminal cases involving Bill Thompson. And by the way, Bill Thompson's, unfortunately, he got a copy of the letter. It went to his actual office saying that I want the records, what the prosecution was handed over from Moscow PD, and 2 previous criminal cases that could relate to this case. And so again, somebody might look at that and go, DA, why are you looking into that case? Well, bear with us. It's one of those things that it's what you're going to see, in my opinion, or what you might see when you get those records and the story it tells. Because as Ron from the custody queens team was saying something, maybe it wasn't even Ron. Maybe it was Sam McBride was saying something to the effect of, I want to know what officers did the investigation. I want to know when you were ruling out certain people, is there a commonality? Was it always the same officer that basically cleared some of the key names? That's the kind of stuff you're looking for. It's like, okay, show me your records. Oh, look, it's the same officer that cleared primary suspect 1, 2, and 3. Then you start to look for that red flags. Is one guy controlling the narrative? And so those are the kind of things you start looking for when you start looking down those further rabbit holes. Is there a history of cutting corners in cases?
You agree with that one, what DA said on the police cop situation there, law enforcement? DA right on the money?
Yeah.
you put him in a difficult spot. I mean, he doesn't, but yeah, I mean, I think he would agree. If you have a bad cop, you want to look, you want to see that you'll see a trend maybe of them being involved in the same kind of sketchy shit multiple places, right?
Yeah.
And we know they only used, as many people have said, right? Just what is it, 1 or 2 or 3 cops that were?
Yeah. Well, let me just add in something real quick, just to remind everyone. Is I know, again, you know, we know that this video audio that Jules got, right? I mean, the name of the file was redacted, so you know, we're trying to get more info, like what was done to this, you know, video, you know, why were certain things redacted or whatever. One of the big things, you know, to me, that's very alarming, and, you know, I'm sure, I don't know if I don't think we specifically asked yet about this, but we probably will make a letter about it. That doesn't mean they're going to answer it. We have the documented interview story from Tisdale and Rosenthal, right? We're in the unmarked, driving around. He even listed how many times. I think he listed specifically how many times they drove around. It's almost like a circle. JJ and Lee were boots on the ground, and Rhonda as well they went around there. They know exactly how long kind of it takes to go around. It's not as big as everyone thinks it is. What don't you see in that video from 2:30 to 3:30? I don't remember seeing an unmarked car drive around. Yeah. Well, I don't remember seeing it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where is it?
Yeah. Another thing, by the way, I keep failing to mention this, and I don't know it's relevant to what you just said, but one thing people don't realize is that whole area where that house is at, 1122, is kind of like a bowl shape. I think I've said it one time, but it literally, there's a slope to the hill around the whole thing. And why I say that's important is because sound bounces around in a bowl, right? You're surrounded by buildings, you're surrounded in a bowl shaped thing. The house is kind of down in a bowl shaped thing. And so it can play with acoustics. So when we're talking about, like somebody pointed out before, well, DA, you can't say where those screams are coming from. You're right. I can't say where the screams are coming from, but that's the whole point, is that needed to be investigated. It needed to be cleared where those screams came from, because you don't know where the screams came from. And if it wasn't properly investigated, that's a huge red flag right there. By the way, I saw you pinned something there for a minute. Was that a donation? Looks like somebody got
nice that was a super chat from Whitney James 1531. So thank you very, very much for that. Here, I'll put this back up. People fail to realize this could happen to any one of us. All of us go to the grocery store, etc., touching things and not buying them. Our trace DNA is everywhere. It's not hard to set someone up, which is completely true.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. And so that's why I wanted to see this go to trial. I felt like it's not a slam dunk with DNA. In fact, the prosecution already backed away and said they weren't planning on really relying on the DNA. They were going to use circumstantial evidence to place him. And then Bill Thompson said himself, can't place Brian Koberger in the house.
Yeah, they were going to use Molly as a star witness.
They were going to use Molly as an eyewitness who said, I saw him there, and she didn't see him there. And we know it. Listen to her testimony. She didn't. She described somebody completely different than Koberger.
And she didn't see him. And in a traffic stop with Payne, she said that she's friends with Bill Thompson. Now, I find that problematic, that someone who calls themselves a friend of Bill Thompson would be potentially a kind of a star witness against Brian Koberger.
Honestly, Robin, I think it was a problem, and I think that's why she got dropped off the list, because they were going to bring her in as their star witness at the last minute until body cam footage came out and showed an officer questioning her on a stop, and she says, "Oh yeah, I know, I'm friends with Bill Thompson," and they went, "Fuck!" I can almost see it. It's like, shit, we can't use her on the stand, because they're going to put that on the stand in front of a jury and say she's friends with Bill Thompson, and it's a setup.
Right.
So,
hey, there's breaking news. The case has been solved. Kimberly in the chat said she knew somebody who worked on the case, and everything's squared away. Everything we've been told is the truth, so we can just stop. We don't have to ever talk about this case anymore.
That settles it. Thanks, appreciate it.
That's great. But I want to say,
Robin, let's go ahead and close the channel. The channel's over. We're done here.
The channel's over.
The channel's over.
Shut it
down.
Let's just move on to something else.
No. wait, before we shut it down, I just, in case my friend who's a caller comes in tonight or people new to the case, this is my opinion. I don't know how many people agree, but when I finally, how do I say it? It clued into me that it was a show hearing, I thought, when the defense and the prosecution, after the home was destroyed, right, which we all know, or most of us think is pretty ridiculous that they would do that. I would think someone would think that too. But in the courtroom, remember the prosecution defense, they were laughing amongst one another. They had this riotous sort of laugh. They're looking at the 3D printed model house that they're supposedly going to bring in for the trial, laughing. It's like disrespectful, you almost, to the victims, if there were victims in this case, you would think. And it just clued into me, wait, these are show hearings. And then you find out legally that I'll get into in another live, maybe again legally, that they can do all this under certain certain circumstances, the feds. But
yeah, that dollhouse thing. Let's tear down the actual crime scene, because of course no jury is going to want to actually walk in and see it for themselves. No. Let's tear it down, and then let's build a dollhouse and just say, yeah, the dollhouse is. And by the way, the dollhouse is not to scale; it's just close enough. They literally was like, it's not really just, it's not 100% accurate, but it's close enough to get the idea.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they could have saved a lot of money and just brought in the Barbie dream house. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Well, it was kind of like this. Imagine it's like this. Imagine it happened like this.
I have to. So, Jeff H., I know the narrative that you like to go by, but from my experience, all right, in law enforcement, and no, I don't know everything, but I have a lot of experience responding to people who need help. I've seen people take their last breath after being shot. That audio from 2:30 to 3:30, the various different times. Yes, we do hear singing, but there are clearly, gut wrenching screams that are not singing. So I heard that. We hear the yelling and some people singing, whatever. In the middle of the singing, you hear very clear screams. Those are screams. So
keep in mind, let's be completely honest all the way around. Big wide perspective here.
Yeah,
I think it's safe to say, right? I'm not an audio expert. AI could possibly do that. Again, as Outcast said, running it through a possible program. I'm watching DA's reactions right now as I say this. Right. Is the IT guy.
Okay, but
let's just include that.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, but my question to you then, right? Okay, so we know that whoever, MPD, Idaho State Police, FBI, whoever it is, so they redacted and they messed with certain things, right, in the video, or they removed the unmarked car, or whatever they did, right? So they did some stuff. Why would they add screams?
Well,
why would they add screams?
Let me put my leather hat on to answer that question.
Because the only thing that, to me, that completely contradicts their own timeline. Why would they do that?
Let's give Estes a shot at explaining why they would add screens.
Actually, the leather hat is too warm for my round head. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I'm a wannabe narcissist. I'm sounding again.
I get it.
Well, I think I think to me I really don't know for sure, but I think it would be more distraction with us being having to talk about it, which is great, and other creators, and it's just. I think it's distraction away from what Joe and I and all of us have talked about as a possibility, at least, especially Joe and I, is the extraction. Does that answer the question or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, by the way, I feel a little guilty. I feel a little guilty because I've done it. I started it, so I led by a bad example. We kind of mocked some people that are giving the whole guilter perspective. Well, yeah, he's guilty. He pled guilty, and he left his fingernail or thumbprint there, you idiot, and his car is seen all over the crime scene, and it's easy to be mocking of that because we've been in this for so long. I do want to say this: we really do respect other people's opinions when it's done respectfully. So I don't have a problem with people saying they think it's legit. The problem becomes is usually when I'm railing against those things is because somebody started with DA, you're an idiot, XYZ, and then they list an incorrect thing. That's when I lose my shit. It's not that you think he's guilty, because if you just tell me an incorrect fact, hey, didn't they have this? Then I can be like, let me try to educate you a little bit. They didn't have that, and let me tell you why I don't. Then we're having a discourse. But when you start out with you're an idiot, his car was literally at the scene. You're an idiot. He literally left his DNA all over the house. You're an idiot. He was stalking the girls and sitting outside doing the slow stroke on a cinder block. When you say stuff like that, I have to come at you and say, you're not watching the case, obviously, and maybe you should check yourself before you call me an idiot.
But you know, again, DA, the thing is, the reason why I've made comments about some of the comments tonight where I've said things, because people aren't acknowledging the counter information. Yeah. When you get people that are stuck on a narrative, they're intransigent. Their minds can't be changed. They won't acknowledge all the discrepancies. So if you are a guilter, and I've never said that Brian had nothing to do with it. That's never been my contention.
I don't think any of us have said it. Yeah.
Right. But if you're going to say, well, I believe the official narrative, or I know people from the area, and this is all true, you're not acknowledging all the inconsistencies, all the discrepancies. So if you want to debate, let's debate. But so I'll comment back to people who just drop something and don't acknowledge all the counter information, because I've acknowledged all the various information and have come to my conclusions based on that. So the only reason I might take some shots at some people in the chat is if they're just dropping little things like you're supposed to just accept what they say. You know, they're not acknowledging all the other information.
Yeah.
And one thing that disturbs me a little bit is people keep saying, well, I know people personally in this case who have investigated, and there's all this evidence but you're a person in the chat. We have no idea who's really behind your profile, like really. So for us to just blindly take what you're saying, you know, as fact, we can't, because we can't see any of that proof. Why can't we see that proof? I mean, if this case is as shut, you know, open and shut as they say, why is so much hidden? You know, I mean, if it's really a simple case, you ought to be able to come out with this report that distinctly says this, and not have a prosecutor on national television, international television, really, saying, we can't put Brian at the house. He has no connection to these people that were killed. We, you know, there's nothing that places him on social media in connection with them. So this is where the credibility is called into question. And this is why we're after the truth, whatever that truth may be. But to be so close-minded, or say that just because of your profession or someone else's profession that, you know, it's solved, well, no, because it's not.
And you talked about confirmation bias earlier. So I reluctantly, I didn't want to watch it, but I did watch it. So our great husband and wife duo from Celebrate, they did an interview, and you know, you listen to them talk about the cell phone info that they analyzed from BK, and they're commenting on certain things that they really have no authority to comment. They're supposed to just, you know, they do whatever they do to get, you know, certain info. Oh, he went to this website, or he did this on his phone or that on his phone. I think a few weeks ago, I believe, I think, Lee, you put up an article. It was from someone else. And it's very interesting to me that this husband and wife FBI duo, what are the names? Brian Bart or something or whatever.
The Celebrate couple?
Yeah. Something like that. Something would be that what they say, you know, is gold and it's, you know, God's will that, you know, they know everything. But Cy Ray, who has never testified in his whole entire career, who basically, you know, like he is the expert on like cell phone data and timing advance records and this kind of thing. He's considered a conspiracy theorist, and what he says is, you know, we still don't know. He's still under a gag order. Why is what he said is under a gag order? What's the big deal? Show us. Show me.
Right.
Show me why Cy Ray basically not you know, and you've said it like 100 times. He's not an expert. He's the expert.
The expert, right?
Why can't we see? Why can't we see? Why can't we see what his
I can answer
he had to say?
I can tell you why. Because
all right, Estes, go.
We'll get into this more hopefully on another live if you guys allow me to. But it's Witzik law, right? U.S. Code 2. I'm going to butcher it. I don't want to get the numbers wrong. We'll talk about it if you guys allow me on another live. It's Witzik law. Most lawyers, I'm guessing they may not even know it because you don't hear it talked about. And it allows them to do exactly what you just described, 1-1. A person like Cy Ray, they could shut him up. They could seal it up to us. That makes no sense, right? But this is Witzik law. They could seal records. They can do anything they want. Show trials, show hearings.
Right. But again, I almost think, you know, I don't know what the full procedure, you know, is exactly. You know, someone else who is more into law would know. I almost think that, you know, Hitler could be brought up on charges or definitely reason for an appeal. Hitler's job, again, and we've spoken about this, and I've said it on the show, his job is to make sure that, you know, you're bringing in someone, the defense says that this such and such person, they're a DNA expert or they're a blood spatter expert. It's not for Hitler to decide and say, no, you're a conspiracy theory. No, you can't. That's not for him to say. It's for the others. It would be for the state then. Either they hire or they use their own expert to counter whatever the other expert says, or they do it in a cross-examination. It's not for Hitler to decide. I mean, I don't know what other credentials you could possibly have to show that he is an expert. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous.
It goes again, I think, to a show hearing. They were all in on it. The lawyers, defense, prosecution, in my opinion. It sounds deep, but I think they were all in on this staging theater, you know, and when you look back, and hopefully history might show that. We're going to find out.
Yeah, and you know, when I was reading, I think it came up in the Framed book from Grisham, I think, the term recusal. Like there's a question about whether or not Hitler could be recused of his position of overseeing the gag order and somebody else come in because maybe he's got a vested interest to keep things sealed. But like you said, 1-1, there's things that he's asked to be unsealed, and it's the departments that are fighting him and not obeying his order. So
they're not even obeying him.
The problem at that point, or is it the NPD or other agencies that refuse to show their work even when they're ordered to show their work? So hey, look, before we get, I usually don't want to go more than 2 hours. We've talked about no other case. I want to talk a little bit about Luigi Manjoni's case, which I believe is going into a second week of suppression hearings, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot I can say about it. I apologize for those who you know that I follow multiple cases. I follow Luigi Manjoni. In fact, I started on Luigi Manjoni's case first, but it has taken a back burner as we've ramped up filing public records requests. I'm all day, every day filing requests. I'm filing emails, I'm filing requests for paperwork, and those requests are coming in, and some of them are getting a response. And right now we're waiting they're literally preparing large portions of files, and they're going to give me a dollar amount. So wait, hold your hats when they tell me that they want, $30,000 for something that I asked for that's been in the public domain for over for years, who knows. But we got to fight that fight. But the Luigi Manjoni case, I've got my eyes on it. For those who think I've completely forgotten Luigi Manjoni's case, the defense did a weird move that I still haven't figured out yet. And because my mind has been on trying to get some of these legal filings done and public records requests, when Karen Agnifilo asks to gag essentially or suppress from the public body cam footage. I didn't understand the reasoning for that one. Did you guys have any feelings, or do you know what I'm talking about? That because that was a surprise move for me. And the reason it's a surprise move, in case you don't know, is that Karen Agnifilo is maintaining that was an illegal arrest. I've maintained that it was an illegal arrest. Thomas Dickey, his attorney in Pennsylvania, said it's an illegal arrest. So if it's an illegal arrest, one could argue, why wouldn't Karen Agnifilo want the entire world to see the illegal arrest play out on camera? Why would she ask to suppress that video footage if it shows what she claims, which is an illegal arrest? You guys have thoughts?
The only thing I could think is, maybe there's something in that video, or something that she's worried that there's some kind of bias, or possibly, because I would love to, I'd love to know exactly the reason for that too, because you have clear video that will show that the police violated his rights, and basically what they did is that they violated a Terry stop. So we're going to go into a little more detail on exactly what a Terry stop is and whatnot on Sunday. Robin and I are going to cover it. So for those of you who are interested, and those of you who are interested in the Luigi case, you might want to hop into that show, because we're gonna go a little bit more into a deep dive on that. So
I want to say I'm hesitant to say this, but I wanted to give you my early thoughts, because again, I haven't had time to deep dive on it, and so I'm almost afraid to do live early thoughts. But the only thing I can think of when I was thinking through, why would Karen want not to have people see the body camera footage, is this scenario, and it's bear with me. I think the case of Luigi Manjoni and the whole American healthcare system and the predatory healthcare system in America, and why somebody, and it may not be Luigi Manjoni. Remember, he has a presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law, just like anybody. But if somebody got so mad at the predatory healthcare system that was killing people in the thousands and decided to kill somebody, here's what the problem might be. If all people know is that it was an illegal arrest, and that's the ruling, and it's all they know, and they don't see the body camera footage, there's a large number of people who believe, and I'm not saying they're wrong, that believe there's no way in hell Luigi Manjoni shot that guy. It's all theater. It's all bullshit. He's not the shooter. You can clearly see it's not the same guy at the hostel. All the arguments that say Luigi Manjoni isn't the shooter. He didn't do it, period. Right? Now, if the body camera footage shows Luigi Manjoni saying things that looks like he's basically admitting he is the shooter, it could prejudice all those people who thought, well, I'm sticking by this guy because he didn't do it. So maybe there's a scenario in which, look, I just want a ruling that says it was an illegal arrest, period. Yeah. I don't want anybody getting in their head the idea that he might have actually done it, because all they need to know is it was an illegal arrest. It's period. It was an illegal arrest, period. So is there that possibility? Is there a concern that some people might leave the Luigi cause if they have to face the deep, dark idea that maybe he did it, but it was still an illegal arrest? Will people believe in the Constitution and say, if a bad guy did something and you had to break the law to get him, that you can't do that? You can't break the law to get the bad guy? So I don't know if that's the case. That's the only thing I was thinking that would make some sense about why she might want to say, judge, just rule on it. Nobody needs to see the footage. Just make a ruling. It was an illegal arrest. We can all do this procedurally behind the doors and just tell people that arrest was illegal. We don't need to show everybody the footage. So I don't know. That's what I wondered, but yeah, go ahead.
Just may I ask, DA, are you going to still, and Robin, are you guys going to still are interested in doing a call-in or no? A friend of mine is trying to get in, and they're just saying it's blocked or an error or something. Do you still want to do a call-in or no?
We can do a minute of a call-in. Let me put it up on screen again.
I'll be right back, guys.
All right.
Joe,
so there's a link there if your guest wants to grab it to try to get backstage. I will caveat this before they even take the mic. I don't like to go longer than 2 hours. Like, it's kind of like I need a break as well, and I got a bunch of irons in the fire, so we only have about a half hour left, and I do want to cover. So we talked a little bit about Luigi Manjoni, and again, I am watching it. I haven't given up on the case. I will be breaking stuff down. I think it's very still possible that Ali Benevento, criminal defense attorney from South Carolina, will come on the show when the suppression hearings are done for her and I to do a deep dive together and talk about our thoughts from a legal perspective. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but she talks to me like I'm a lawyer's friend, so we have good conversations, and I think you'll enjoy that conversation. If she did say that she wanted to do it, it's just that she's literally on court TV all the time, and the suppression hearings aren't done. So when the suppression hearings are done, we may get her on for a discussion on that for you guys to hear what a criminal defense attorney thinks about it. And I can tell you this: she already agreed it was an illegal arrest. She and I don't know if anything's changed her mind. We all have the ability to change our mind. She may have changed her mind after some things that she's seen in the suppression hearings, but that's what we want to talk about. But she also originally was like, yeah, that's an illegal arrest all day long, every day, and twice on Sunday.
I think you and Robin would be great lawyers, personally.
we're working on it. Yeah.
Say that with security reverence. All right.
Hey, Twiz in the house. Welcome to Twiz Stick in the house. Good to see
Twiz.
you. All right. So your friend still hasn't come up. There she is.
Oh, there she is.
All right. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come right up on stage. You ready to go?
Whoa.
Yes.
All right. Oh, you're already on stage. Good thing you were ready.
Isn't that damn funny that I'm already on stage?
It is like, it's so weird because like it's a good thing you weren't doing something unsavory because you went straight to camera. Like I tell people I'll bring you up when it's time, and you just went straight to camera. All right. What do you got for us tonight?
I'm special, Lee.
just cut right past it. Don't pass go. Just go right to the stage.
I'm very damn special because I'm very close to Jason, so I'm special.
What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I've just been watching you guys, and you guys talking about the Idaho FOIA, and in my opinion, the video was redacted, the audio was redacted. There's no blood. There's no evidence. These kids are alive. Everybody knows this, and I'm going to keep saying it.
Well, I'll go with you part way. I wouldn't say everybody knows it because obviously there's a fair half of this panel that doesn't think that they're alive still. But I like entertaining the idea because, and that's one of the things that I like that Jason Estes brings to the show is that it's an area that I wouldn't press down, but I do believe in giving people as long as they can. Here's the key. You have to be able to articulate yourself, which is what Estes can do, right? If you just come at me with, and I'm not saying you can, I'm not saying that you don't articulate. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I love when people can articulate the argument, and he does it well, which is why we have him on the show to kind of present the argument. Like, hey, look, here's all the reasons why it could be legal for them to do it. Here's the reason why they might do it. Because a lot of people miss that part. They just say something and they don't give you the why. I always say, what's the why? Why would they do that? So if we get the why, it makes it a lot better and more compelling. But so you don't think it happened? You think it was?
I don't think it happened because when I've listened to some of those audios. Now, here's a theory and a thought. You hear all these people screaming. You hear all of this noise. And somebody was asking in the chat, why? You hear all the screaming. Has anybody ever thought that all this screaming could have been set up to get all these kids out?
I thought about that actually a little bit. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, the only thing that I push back on with my own belief in a potential extraction is, let's try to think about this, and I put it out there. I'll play devil's advocate. When were they extracted? Because there would have to be, you'd have to see the vehicle coming and going that took them out of there, and assuming they didn't need to pack everything they owned to be extracted, that could be done later. But that's one of the reasons why I mentioned I'd like to see the video of them arriving home that night, which we haven't seen yet. Probably one of the most important things you could see is confirming what time the girls, Kaylee and Maddie got back to the house, and we haven't seen that video. So,
you bring up a great point because I thought the video had been obtained, but I haven't watched it yet, for just before I mean, between 1 and 2, right? So didn't Eric Gower say he dropped off the girls at 2 o'clock in the morning? He even talks about making a 3-point turn in the driveway of 1122 King. The problem with that is, as I've said over and over again, you cannot get into that house by car without going past that camera that faces that intersection. You can't. So do we have Eric Gower's car bringing the girls to drop them off? Now, there's other people who say Kaylee and Maddie were dropped off and walked on foot, and Bertie showed some footage that looked like maybe it looks like Kaylee and Maddie, and it looks like a drunk, Maddie staggering around on camera. So did they get dropped off somewhere else? But if that's the case, then we've got a problem again with the official narrative, which is Eric Gower said he dropped them off at the house and did a 3-point turn out of the driveway. Right. So he doesn't say he dropped them off down the street and they walked to the house. So, and where I'm going with the walk to the house part, let me make sure you understand. If they got dropped off and they walked to the house, they wouldn't necessarily be on the 1112 King Road camera, because you can literally cut through apartments and walk up to the house without ever going on a camera there. So if they did get it dropped off by car, as the official story has, then we should see Gower dropping the girls off. Have we seen it?
What time was the big minivan driving around, guys? Do you remember? We've talked about the minivan briefly before weeks ago on a live, I think. Around the neighborhood, right near the house, I think.
But that wasn't on a camera, I don't think. That was somebody had mentioned they saw a minivan, and it was like during the day.
Jack D. That's Jack D. Jack D said his interview just came out like a day or two ago. He said that he saw a van. Right.
Oh, here we go.
The only reason I mention that is because that's important. Like, those two things are really important. Let's see the video of them going home, coming home. Also, anybody else who got dropped off at home.
We'll never see
it. That house should be on a camera if they arrive by a car.
Remember when Jules paid for it, when Jules paid for the information they gave her, she claimed, they didn't give me all the files that I've asked for. They're missing hours of time. Now, I don't know if this is true, but this person's saying Jules is still waiting for the 1250 to 225. Why is that not a critical time? That's the critical time. That should show when the kids are coming home from various places partying if they went by car. Now, they could have maybe walked again to the house and been off camera. But again, it's funny. I'm not saying anybody's covering something up, but it's funny that they haven't released the video that would show Eric Gower's story that he dropped the girls off at the house at just before 2 o'clock in the morning. Why are we missing that critical footage showing the girls get dropped off?
And why isn't it redacted by now?
Right? How could it not be redacted by now? It's 3 years.
Redact the video.
Yeah, and it's 3 years later, and it's not like you're asking for something obscure. It literally is a critical piece of the case. What time did the kids get home? Right.
Right.
So how is that?
The timeline and any aspect of the timeline is critical, because they have to have, if half of the timeline that they presented is completely wrong, then it would chip away at the credibility of the rest of their timeline.
Yeah, the whole prosecution's timeline falls apart.
Right.
So I'm going to say something in my opinion, okay? Because I have family that are lawyers and police officers and all that. No body, no blood, no photos, no autopsy, no crime.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Now, you sound crazy the way you just put that information together.
That's just crazy talk. It's just crazy talk. Yeah.
And Annette, thank you very much for the amazing shirt.
You're welcome. It looks very hot. Who else wants a shirt?
I only charge 10% fee for that.
I don't charge anything. I just ship it.
We may have another shirt on me tomorrow from Annette too. Stay tuned, audience.
We're working on a dual team shirt here for me and Jason. It'll just might make your show go a little crazy. Going, what the heck?
We've got a lot of inside jokes at this thing. If we were actually selling more merch, we got all kinds of inside jokes. And Joe's got the PSYOP shirt, and we could have cock swagger shirts, and fuck it, we'll do it live. Although you wearing your DA merch? Look at that.
It looks good.
Yeah, but like I said, no body, no blood, no crime scene photos, no autopsies, no crime.
And no open casket, public casket ceremony. And people will say, oh, their faces were mutilated. Well, maybe, but I think it's quite a coincidence that you got 4 people that you don't have an open casket funeral for? Was it this case that nuts? And then again, the delayed 911 call, we could go on, but that's why we talk about this case.
Well, there was blood. I mean, wasn't there some blood?
There is some blood. Yeah, there is some blood.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Joe, this is, I mean, I hate saying this because it's so morbid, but I said it the other night, and the more I've been thinking about it, the more it's very possible in light of the new audios. So for me, let me just lay this out. For me, the audios between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning indicate that there could have been one after another people taken out. That could have been, if you add Steve Gonzalez's comments, multiple of them were gagged. So if they were tied up and tortured one by one or killed one by one in some kind of weird scenario you can imagine, if and here's where I'm going with this. There's an indication that, Xana said something about don't forget the foundation of the bathroom. Is it and we know that the two of the girls supposedly had wet clothing because there's talk about evidence dryers having to dry out their clothing. So you put it all together, and while that might indicate they could have been outside, what if they were taken one by one into a bathroom and they were tortured and killed in a bathtub or whatever, and blood was all over there, and they cleaned up the bathroom with bleach, and then they've staged the bodies back in the bedrooms to make it look like it was something that it wasn't, just a quick kill, all of them died at one time, when really it took place over time. So where I'm going with that is, I agree with you, the crime scene doesn't look like the crime scene should. There should be blood everywhere. So either you're right, and the reason being there's not blood everywhere is because no crime happened. It's all theater and bullshit, and it didn't happen. Or another explanation could be, and the one that I thought when I first heard it, I said, no, I'm not buying the idea that they were killed somewhere else and brought to the crime scene. But I didn't factor in, could they have been killed in a different room of the house and then staged in the bedrooms to make it look like it was something that it wasn't, which was perhaps a long torture process over an hour, and then they were staged to make it look like it was an 8-minute kill. So I don't know. I don't know.
And then I meant to say, when Annette brings up no blood, she's right, except for the blood, the red we saw in the foundation of the house. Did you see that, Annette?
No.
Yeah, for a long time, I don't know, was it weeks, guys? They had
I don't know,
the red on the foundation of the house, and other creators have brought up at times, would you really leave, and again, one would be great at answering this. I think he's already done it before. Would you leave forensically, law enforcement, would you leave blood, if it's real blood on the foundation house day after day? Wouldn't you clean that up within 24, 48, 72 hours? Would you say one would? With forensic teams? Because it would be a health hazard, would it not?
Yeah. It wouldn't be left for days and weeks or whatever, however long.
Then Annette, you're right on the money still. You see? I agree with you.
Well, we'll know, I think a lot more would come together if there wasn't so much bullshit redacted. Because if all the videos are there, all the Ring camera footage is there, and any audio that's available, then that would show all the blocks of time, people arriving at the house. If there was an extraction, they would want to cover that up, obviously. So that would explain why they're redacting so much stuff.
Real quick,
or
Annette,
if there was corruption.
Annette, can I ask you to turn down the background noise a bit? You're coming through really loud. Okay, thank you.
There's why so many redactions, right? Why wasn't the camera that was sitting supposedly filming the house, why wasn't that released?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if supposedly there was a camera filming directly at 11:22, and why was that confiscated? Reminds me of a lot of other incidences like 9/11. They went around and confiscated all the security cameras from all the surrounding buildings around the Pentagon after 9/11 happened. So I've been saying from day one, I think it is a federal, somehow a Fed op. I just am not 100% that it was an extraction. And I also hold out the possibility that it was a partial extraction.
Yeah.
Well, I would have a lot. I never believe personally, I don't want to sound mean, but did you see the interviews, Joe, of the Chapman's family, the parents?
Yeah.
I know we all grieve differently. Did it feel to you too that it was kind of off? And when they were crying, as Annette knows, and they said that they're not angry apparently at the assailant, And in this case, they thought it was Brian Colbert. Is that very, very odd behavior to you, or no?
Yeah, well, but I've been saying, I'm the one who's been saying from day one that this has been an operation. So what I'm saying is that I need to see more stuff come together for me to be completely sold that it was a total extraction of 4 people. You know, I want to see more of this footage. You know, I want to see when the girls get dropped off at the house, because as I said yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, you know, maybe they never went home. Maybe they never, Kaylee and Maddie never went back to the house. Maybe Xana and Ethan never even made it back to the house. But again, that's a separate thing, and I need to see more information to feel confident about that.
Yeah.
I think it was pre-planned, if I'm right, but anyway.
Yeah, and like I said, I just, I mean, they're all great food for thought. Thank you, Annette, by the way, for bringing up the questions and supporting, you know,
anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's great for food for thought. I mean, and I don't want to diminish anything you said with this, but I want people to understand that, you know, in my channel, sometimes I give so much room to the extraction thing that people think that's what I think. It's not what I think.
Really?
It is something I.
Well, everybody has their own opinions, right, Lee?
Yeah, and like I will entertain it. I will entertain it, because I think you have to be intellectually honest. You need to entertain all possibilities. Well, not all. Some of them I think are way too out there even for me to consider. But the point being is that anything that has some teeth to it, and this does have some teeth to it, you have to be intellectually honest to accept it. But I just want those who aren't super familiar with my channel to understand that while sometimes we talk for a long time about the idea that it didn't happen, it's not officially my gut reaction, but I certainly appreciate my panelists coming on and talking about all the reasons why it might be something different than what I think it is.
And we talked about it's not like to the audience out there, you amazing audience out there, it's not like we didn't talk about the screams that DA so expertly covered, and with Robin and the rest of you.
Right. So you guys are giving me room to kind of make my argument why it might be what it is, and I'm letting you have your room to say why it might not be what I think it is, and that's why we have a cool show. Well, one of the reasons. There's many reasons why we have a cool show, but that's one of the reasons we have a cool show. Okay. Any last minute questions, comments from anyone on here? You can stay on, Annette, if you want, while we're closing, since you're here. And
well, I would like to say, Lee, me and you should get into the Rex thing.
Oh, the Rex Heuermann case.
Some Rex stuff that Jason sent me, and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk to Lee about that.
Oh my gosh. And by the way, on the Rex Heuermann case, Long Island serial killer, for those who don't know, the Rex Heuermann case, I hear Othram Labs is going to get involved in the DNA testing in the Rex Heuermann case. Unreal. And by the way, I've heard Othram Labs is going to try to get into the John Benet Ramsey case and fix that cold case. So here we go with Othram Labs.
I'm cynical. I believe Othram will not fix solve the Jean Benet, but that's just my opinion from the get-go. We'll see what happens.
But yeah, so yeah, I welcome. I can't wait, Annette, for you to kind of tell me what your thoughts are on the Long Island serial killer case. I don't know how long you've been following it, but I have a lot of focus on Shannon Gilbert's disappearance in 2010 that started that whole look into the killers. As you probably know, I've had John Ray, an attorney that supports the family for the search for the justice in the Shannon Gilbert case, and he's been on the show a couple times, and so it's a special guest for us, and we're kind of intimately involved in the seeking of what happened to Shannon, as well as making sure that the serial killer or serial killers, if the case may be, or whatever the case may be, I'm also particularly interested in the police corruption in that case. A lot of police corruption, a lot of corruption all the way up to the DA's office, a lot of things. That case has a million moving pieces. So I'm excited to get more people on board, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts later on that.
Well,
all right, panelists.
I'm going to say bye to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Call me later, Jason, before you go to bed.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. For the panelists, have a great evening on Friday night. Drink responsibly if that's your thing. Don't go out there and do anything stupid. And I know it's Friday night. A lot of people like to go to the bars, so drink responsibly. Get a driver. All those good things. I don't know why I just decided to turn into a PSA at the last second, but just remember, it's party weekend. People like to party. Be safe out there. Panelists, do you guys have anything to say on the way out?
All right. Some of us have work to do.
That's hilarious. All right, everybody. Thank you. Until next time. Tomorrow night, I should be on the panel, and Sunday night, my team will be without me. When the cat is away, the mice will play. I have no idea what they're going to do. They're probably going to run complete rough shot all over my channel. It's all good. I can't wait to see the replay and go, what the fuck did you guys do? Anyways, for everybody else, thanks for giving us all the support. Don't forget to donate if you believe in the letter writing campaign and the public records seeking. We're going to need money when they start coming back for asking for money. We're going to fight them. We're going to argue about the costs that they ask us for, and we're going to ask for media rates, and we're going to negotiate, and we're going to cite the law that says they can't ask for unreasonable dollar amounts like they've done in the past. But if you believe in that campaign, help support. It's going to cost us money to get those records, and I know you want to see it. We're going to want to see a lot of things. I got a whole list of things that we want to see. So until then, everybody have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.